those of you that have been coming to my classes for the month of September, we have been doing a little bit more focus on opening the chest, the heart area, working with Hatha chakra. And this poses and pranayamas and yoga that we do for this does help improve our breathing. It helps improve our posture. It counters this hunchback and forward head falling that we do looking at our little screens all the time. I'm concentrating on this area around our shoulders, and we will do a little bit of stuff for our wrists and the rest of our arms today too. And the pose that we've been starting in is Salamba Matsyasana, or supported fish pose. So there's different degrees of this pose that we can practice. If you're going to be taking the more intense pose, it is a very elevated lift in the upper back. And we let the arm bones fall off the sides of our props. And we'll even get some acupressure if you're using the blocks. That might be a little bit much for some of us, so I'll give us another option as well. But if you have 2 yoga blocks, I only have 1, but I'll use my cushion and towel for another block. You'll take the first block on its skinny setting towards the back of your mat and run it parallel or lengthwise with the mat. And we come down to it, we want the bottom of our prop to hit us right at the tips of the shoulder blades and up. We're not supporting the low back. We actually want our low back to be sinking onto the ground. And then the second block will be at the same height for supporting the head. Some people like to bring it a little lower because in fish pose, it is all about stretching and opening the front of the chest and the heart. I'm gonna stack my goodies so that my head is about the same level as my block. And when you come down, you'll get organized. You can go right into the pose if you know where you wanna go. If this is a little bit much for us today, or even if you normally go into this pose and you go into it this morning, it should take maybe a few deep breaths for the body to relax and settle in. But if you feel like you're tightening up, then we need to readjust. And a softer version of that would just be to take a smaller blanket or a towel, like I have, and get it folded into this little rectangular shape so it's not going to be as high off the ground, and it's obviously going to be softer than a yoga block, and place that where the block was. And same thing, when we come down, I'm going to lengthen out my low back, scooching forward so that my prop hits me right between the tips of those shoulder blades. Relaxing the upper back, I want my shoulders to fall off. Here I'm allowing my head to fall back slightly. Arms roll open beside the body. You can lift that low back to get it to release and relax, and then drop it back down to the floor. So some of us will want to keep our knees bent up and together. If we have our bolsters down there, also relaxing the legs over them and just allowing the feet to flop open is an option. And of course, if either of those options feel nice this morning, then you just make it work for you. However, you need to support the body. We will spend a few moments here in the beginning of our practice. So do try to relax, get as comfortable as possible. Get the wiggles out here in the beginning so that we can find stillness in the end. Once we get comfortable, we'll close those eyes and start turning our attention inward. Start feeling and connecting to our body and our breath. So again, relaxing through the whole body, scanning the whole body, consciously, purposefully letting go of any unnecessary tension or tightness we might find, especially around all those little muscles across the face, around the eyes, the mouth, tongue, and jaw. Those of us that are lifted will feel this big stretch through the chest, but try to really let the weight of the shoulders, elbows, and backs of the hands go. Low back sinks into the ground. And then we relax all the way down those legs into the ankles, the feet, and the toes. And as usual, we might come across some areas or woke up this morning with some areas of our body that are sore, maybe from activities that we've done over the weekend. So let's acknowledge those areas, make sure that we take some inventory, remembering that we always want to modify and adjust our practice accordingly, and letting go of forcing and pushing our body through the yoga. The yoga is flexible and it is able to adapt to each and every one of us. So we'll continue to relax the body here as we spread our awareness now to the rhythm of the breath. At first, we'll just observe and watch the body breathe. Ideally, breathing in and out through the nose. So again, the supported fish pose stretches those muscles between the ribs. So you might feel a fuller, bigger inhale, especially across the chest and around the rib cage. But remembering that exhale is just as important, so continue to soften. Notice how the body naturally contracts. We might be able to feel a little bit of an abdominal rise and fall with our breath here. Maybe not as much as if we were lying flat on the floor. And we'll move into Samavriti Pranayama this morning. So this is our even and equal breathing. The next time we breathe in, we'll just mentally count the number that we're filling our bodies up this morning. And when we get to our exhale, we will mentally count the same number back out to clean the body out and let go of stale old air and energy. And ideally, this breath is as smooth as possible, in and out through the nose. And as our body opens up to this deeper breathing this morning, for our last few rounds, we may add 1 or 2 counts to our breath. Remembering if we're sipping in 1 or 2 more counts on our inhale, take just as much time on the exhale. Everything else perfectly relaxed, mind centered and focused on the breath. And then let's all cycle through one more nice big round of breathing. And on this breath, we're just going to try to make it our biggest breath as possible. So the next inhale, we'll just take our time to inflate and expand and try to sip in as much air as we possibly can, filling ourselves all the way up to the brim. And at the very top of that inhale, we'll exhale. And same thing, we'll exhale, exhale, exhale. Every last drop out, make sure you're squeezing and putting some effort into cleaning all that old air out of the body. And then at the very bottom of that exhale, we will let go of trying to follow or control the breath for a moment. We'll start to notice the physical body relaxed again on our mat. And let's gently start to wake our bodies up so we can wiggle the toes, wiggle those fingertips. Now, those of us that are lifted higher up on our yoga blocks will probably want to step our feet in if they're stretched out. We'll place the forearms alongside the torso, press down into the elbows, tighten up the core a little bit, lead with the heart, and float the body off the blocks. We are going to come right back down to the ground, so we're just going to slide our props off the mat. If you're lower on the ground, you might be able to bring one arm beside the head and actually roll to one side off your props. So take your time, move mindfully. Once we clear our space, we'll lie right back down on the ground. But still feel this opening across our chest and heart. Draw the shoulders down, relax the low back down. We'll bring the insides of our legs and feet to touch down the middle of our mat and place our arms down beside the body, palms down. Water pump pose, coming back to this breath. Inhale, extend those arms up to the ceiling, all the way overhead. Flex the feet, pulling the toes into the shin bones. On the exhale, point those toes, pump those arms down beside the body, start to feel a little bit of strength. So tighten up those muscles, draw the belly in. Inhale, breathing, flex the feet, toes to shins, arms overhead, spread the fingers and toes. You'll feel your low back want to arch, big stretch. Exhale, point the toes, pull the belly in, push those arms down with some force. Follow the rhythm of your breath. Inhaling into extension, our long body stretch. On the exhale, if we want a little bit more, we point the toes, pump the arms, and float the head up, looking to our toes for a very subtle abdominal crunch. And then the inhale relaxes the head as we come into our stretch. Let's all do 2 more. Nice, smooth, even, equal breathing. We'll all meet on our next inhale with the arms overhead. Keep breathing and just stretch things out here a little bit, side to side. So give your right side a little bit more length, your left side. Bring everything back to center. One more big breath in. On the exhale, float those arms down, draw the shoulder blades under, step the feet in towards the sit bones. We might be able to reach down and tickle the backs of those heels. The feet are running parallel to each other. Those of us with yoga blocks, place that block on its small setting right between those inner thighs. If we do not have a block today, just be very mindful that your knees stay in line with the toes. Pressing down through the arms, squeeze the back side of the body, flowing bridge pose. On our inhale, we'll press down to rise up. And then on our exhale, we'll lower the hips back down to the ground. So we're strengthening the backside. Feel this in the hamstrings, the glutes. Pressing up and stretching the front across the quads and the hips. Exhaling down. The neck should be in its natural curve off the mat. As these muscles start to lengthen, we might be able to lift up a little bit higher, and that will open the heart again, drawing the chest towards the chin. All the weight should move into the meaty part of the shoulders. And if we want to incorporate the upper back and shoulders again on our inhales, when we lift up, those arms will come all the way back up and overhead. And on our exhales, when we lower the hips, the arms will fall back down beside the body. Mindful movement, letting our breath be our guide. Let's all flow through one more, whatever variation we're choosing. We'll meet on our next exhale, lowering the body back down to the ground. Place the prop off to the side of the mat, keeping the knees bent, but walk the feet open as wide as the yoga mat. Drop the elbows off beside the shoulders into our cactus arms, and then flop the backs of the hands to the ground so our arms are making this goalpost shape. Breathe it in, and on the exhale, move into windshield wipers, so you'll let your knees fall to the right. You'll feel your left side arch away from the ground, and maybe a little bit of a stretch through that left side. Our inhale takes us up through center, and then the exhale will drop the knees to the left. Again, find your rhythm with the breath. We're moving side to side, just like the windshield wipers of a car. This is a gentle twist, gentle back bend, and a little opening for the fronts of our hips. Head turns the opposite direction of the knees if we want a little counter twist for the neck. Keep the shoulders relaxed down. We can encourage the knees a little closer to the ground if we want to intensify the pose, but we should never feel any pinching or pain around the knees. If we do, we need to back out of the pose. And let's flow one more time to each side. So we'll move it one more time to the right. One more time to our left. After we finish our left side, both knees will float up to neutral. Draw the belly in to pull the knees in. And then bring the hands to the knees or the shins and just rock out across that low back. Hands come behind the thighs, extending both legs up to the ceiling in waterfall pose. Point and flex the feet. Try to press those thighs forward into the hands, or take those hands and vigorously rub up and down those hamstrings, creating a little warmth, getting the circulation back there to those stubborn muscles. Continue to draw that low belly in to keep the low back rounded. Take the hands to the outer thighs and inhale. Let's open those legs nice and wide. Supta Konasana. We'll roll our ankles a few times. Those of us ready for a little deeper stretch, move the hands to the inside, giving those muscles a little massage. The more we try to press the heels out and open up the eyes of the knees, the more that will intensify the stretch as well. Shoulders should be relaxed as the face. One more big breath in. On the exhale, let's squeeze those legs all the way back up to the ceiling. Bend the knees in. Float the nose up to the knees for a little stretch for the root of the neck. And then we'll relax our head down, bringing the right arm beside the head and rolling and pausing on our right hand side for a moment. The heart turns towards the ground. We press down to bring our bodies up. And we're going to move right into a seated position. So we might want our folded blankets or cushions. Yoga blocks are fine. If we are higher up, we might need additional support for the outsides of the knees. And we'll take any comfortable seated position in the legs. So Sukhasana or easy cross or Siddhasana, heel to heel. Find the sit bones, so move the flesh out of the way as needed. Sit up tall, draw that low belly in to support the spine, float the head on the shoulders. We'll float our arms out beside the body, turning our palms up. And just one centering breath here. So on our inhale, take a big breath in and really reach and stretch it up to the ceiling. Turn those palms out and exhale, we'll float it back down to the ground. And going right into our seated triangle, so keep the sit bones rooted, belly in. Inhale, right arm up, leaning over, sliding down the invisible wall to stretch the whole right side of the body. Inhale, pull the body up. Switch, big exhale, moving in this lateral plane, opening the waist and the rib cage. One more time to each side. Feel free to turn the drishti down, forward, or up. After we finish, one more big stretch to our right. The inhale will bring us back up to center. Both arms will reach up. Bring the palms to touch and exhale to our center. If we're sitting cross-legged, we'll switch that cross up, opposite foot in front. Continue to sit up nice and tall here. So let's do some work a little bit with those wrists. So from here, interweave all 10 fingers. We'll flip our palms forward. We're going to do seated cat-cows here. So I'm going to push my palms forward, hollow out my belly, open up the back of my heart. The chin can drop down towards my chest. On my inhale, floating those straight arms up to the ceiling, lengthen up through the spinal column. Try to pull the head of those arm bones back and really try to press up for the heels of the hands. Exhale, draw the belly in. Feel like you're rounding over a beach ball and really try to create some space between the shoulder blades. Big stretch. And then inhale, try to create as much length up the spine. Little gentle arch of the low back is okay. One more time. Exhaling into flexion. And a big inhale into extension. Reach it up. Open the hands up. On our exhale, maintain this length, but let's rotate and twist the body to the right. Hands may float down. Let's let our head and eyeballs follow us into our twist today. Inhale, reach everything back to center. Keep the length. Exhale, rotate around that axis. Look to the back as far as you can, big wide open eyes. Inhale up. One more time to each side. Nice big twist. Big breath in, create that length. And big exhale one more time. Twist it out. And then let's inhale, come back up to center. One more time, bring those palms to touch, lower the hands to heart. This time, try to take your funky grip, excuse me, opposite pinky in front. And we're gonna pretend like we're trying to pull our arms apart. So the palms are facing in towards the heart. My fingers are interlocked, but I'm pulling my elbows out to the side, trying to decompress those wrists. Big breath in. And then on the exhale, soften, let it go. Kind of just give your hands a little shake, a little wiggle, like you're flicking water off your fingertips. Big shoulder roll, and we'll let it go and transition to tabletop. However you want to get there, you can crawl forward, stretch your legs out. We'll all reorganize ourselves in our space. So if your wrists are sore, remember we've got that really wide spread in the fingers and really rooting down through these first knuckles and the fingertips. To help strengthen the wrists, Hatha Bandha is always an option where we round through the fingertips, or we have the option of fist for wrists, and those help decompress the wrists as well. Arms are strong, knees stacked right underneath those hips, flatten out the tops of the feet or tuck the toes under. Float the head with the spine, we're in neutral position, and then on our inhale, we'll sink the belly, create some length all the way up the spine from the tail to the crown. On our exhale, we'll draw that belly in, scoop the tail, look to the belly button, round the back. Come back to the smooth, even breath, cat-cows. Remember, we always have the option to hang out in one of these if we feel like we need to do a little bit more movement, wiggling around in one of the poses. And now let's come back to neutral and take a quick break in our first child's pose to give our wrists a break because we're going to do some other wrist work in a minute. So we'll open our knees nice and wide, bring the big toes to touch, draw those sit bones down towards the heels. If we want to continue to open the heart and stretch the shoulders, hands are wider than the shoulders at this point, even coming into Hatha Bandha on our fingertips, and then sinking the heart and the head to the mat from here. If we want a more passive approach or the head doesn't touch the ground easily, place your arms underneath the forehead or any other position. My knee people, sit back on pillows or keep your hips elevated. We'll just give our low back a big stretch here and around the hips. And let's take a couple more big breaths in our child's pose. And our next breath in, we'll float the head and the body and come right back up to tabletop. So reorganize those knees, the feet, and the hands. So from here, we're going to do a little bit of our hand work. This is called tiger's claw pose. I can't remember. This is more of a martial arts thing that I used to do. It can be quite intense for our wrists, but it will give us options. So we'll kind of go step by step. So the first thing that we'll do, and I'm going to turn myself so you can see a little bit better, is take the right hand and you're going to flip the palm up and turn the fingers in and place the back of that hand to the ground right underneath the chest. Okay, so the right hand, palm up, fingers turned in, back of the hand to the floor. For some of us, this is going to be plenty. This might already be too intense. And you're trying to get all 5 fingertips to the ground. Now, some of us might want a little bit more. So what you do is you take your left hand and you're going to flare your fingertips. So your fingers aren't stacked one on top of the other. They're fanned out. So they look more like this, but the thumbs are stacked. So now I'm pressing my weight down into my right hand. Now this next option might seem kind of crazy. I have done this before. If you only do this if you feel comfortable here, I'm going to tuck my toes under and I'm going to press down and lift my body up into something of a downward facing dog. That is going to put a lot of pressure on that right hand, so you have to be very mindful and see what that feels like. For some of us, we'll really like it. Others of us will say, no way. Wherever we are, one more full breath. Breathe it in. Now on the exhale, we're going to drop back down to our knees. If we were lifted, you're going to keep your right hand on the ground, but float your left hand up. You can Hasta Bandha or fist for wrist, because this arm's bearing the weight. Keep the thumb down and try to just curl your four fingers in. So you're just curling your four fingers in towards the palm a few times. And then we're going to release. So you're going to take your weight off that right hand. If it's an option, sit back on your heels. We'll do praying mantis now. So you'll scoop your four fingers to your thumb. Praying mantis is still this rounding and flexion of the joints. I'm really pulling my fingertips to my forearms. It looks like the head and neck and body of a praying mantis. And then on the exhale, just loosely relax your hands and fingers back down to the ground. So inhale, scoop. We're also sitting back on this broken toe pose. So our toes and feet are getting a big stretch, and relax. Little rolls up the wrists, one direction, and reverse your circle in your wrists as you roll back down. And we'll do all that on the other side. So when we're ready, we'll take the left hand now, palm up. We're back in tabletop, fingers turned in, so the thumb is pointing forward, the hand falls just underneath the chest or in line with those shoulders. Now this is one of those poses that one side can feel very different than the other. Again, you're trying to get the fingertips, fingernails of each finger and thumb connected to the ground. So stay here if this is enough for you today. If we want a little bit more, flare the fingers. I'm going to place my right hand on top of the left. The fingers are fanned out. They're not stacked, but the thumbs are stacked. And that might be enough. If we liked how that felt lifting up into our downward facing dog, you can tuck your toes under and try to lift your hips up. Good, some of you are exploring that. That's great. Others of us are choosing not to. That's also great. Wherever we are, one more full breath. Now keep that left hand down on the ground. Try not to let your fingertips pop up. We'll place our right hand off to the side, and you're going to try to just curl the four fingers up. And if your hips are lifted, yeah, you want to come back down to down dog. So you're just curling your four fingers towards the palm. The thumb is trying to stay down on the ground. And then same thing, we'll release. Try to sit back on your heels into broken toe pose. Pinch four fingers to thumb. Inhale, pull those fingers into the forearms, praying mantis. Exhale, just loosey-goosey, let them fall back down to the ground. Pinch and pull them up. Inhale. Exhale, let them go. This time, make two fists and start circling your wrists one direction. Doesn't matter as you bring them up. And then reverse your circle, rolling them back down to the ground. Good, and then we're gonna come back onto those hands, and let's give our legs a stretch. So balance both arms equally. We'll extend our right leg behind us. Now from here, we're gonna take our left foot, whether the toes are tucked under or flat, kickstand it out a little bit towards the long edge of your yoga mat. Press into your left arm and roll the right arm up to the hip or up to the ceiling. So we're doing a variation of a side plank pose. Left arm is strong, shoulders are stacked, hips might eventually stack. Now pull your right side up away from the ground. Don't let it sink, pull the belly in. Good. Be mindful of where the head is in space. Those of us that want a little bit more, flex that right foot and lift it up, parallel to the floor. So now we're toning, strengthening around the waist, strengthening through the shoulders. Big breath in. Exhale, bring the foot down, look down, hand, knee, re-square the body. So you have to bring your left foot in. Take a cat and a cow to make sure everything gets back where it needs to be. Neutral spine, hips stay level, use your core, stretch your left foot behind you. Take that right foot and turn it out slightly off the long edge of your yoga mat. This will help with the balancing. Cross through the knuckles of the right hand. Come to the instep of the left foot. Stack your hips, your shoulders. Hand to hip or left arm reaches straight up to the ceiling. Shoulders should be stacked. Good. Pull up through that right side, so don't let your right side collapse down. A little bit more. Flex that left foot. Hover the left leg parallel to the floor. Be mindful of where the head is in space. The drishti might move up towards that top thumb. Big breath in. Exhale, foot down, look down. Unwind the body all the way back down. Bring yourself back to neutral and tabletop. Take a cat and a cow. And then from here, let's walk ourselves towards the back of our mat. Toes are tucked under. Hands will walk about one hand's distance forward. A little bit more strengthening now for those shoulders and upper body. So we'll inhale to our kneeling plank. On the exhale, bend those elbows, maybe just a half an inch. They should glide along the ribs. Inhale up. Option to exhale into a bow, popping the palms up as our wrists need a break. Inhaling, kneeling plank. Tuck that tail, pull the belly in. The only thing that should be moving in these half chaturangas is flexion at the elbow joint. The back shouldn't be sinking, rounding, sagging. The head isn't doing the work. We're trying to strengthen and tone around our shoulder girdle and our triceps. Good. Now you can always stay forward. We don't need to take the bow and just practice a couple of these tiny little tricep push-ups. Good. Love it. Now next time we come forward and are ready to come into a half chaturanga, we're going to take it all the way to our belly. So bend those elbows in. You can try to do a little hover, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Chin forward. Flatten out the tops of the feet. Open them wide for low backs. Hands are going to slide underneath those shoulders. Squeeze the back. Inhale, lift the heart. Draw those shoulder blades together and down the back. Keep the neck long. It's okay if the eyes look slightly forward, but don't turn the head to face forward. Keep the back of the neck long. Next inhale, let's try to lift our hands as well. Keep breathing. Legs are strong. Your glutes will help support you. Add those locust arms, reaching the fingertips towards the heels. Those of us that want, interweave all 10 fingers behind the body to a chest expansion. Now you're reaching your knuckles towards the back of your mat. Ardha Shalabhasana. Inhale, squeeze the right side to lift the right leg up. Exhale it down. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale it down. Repeat single legs or Purna Shalabhasana. Inhale, both legs lift. Whole back side is contracting and strengthening. Feel the stretch through the front of the heart and the power in the back. For 3, 2, 1. Exhale. Mindfully flop the body down to the ground. So relax those arms down, turn the toes in, let the heels fall open. The head may turn to one side. Take a nice big belly breath. Counter twist the head opposite direction for a breath. So today, this is a pose I've been thinking about a lot because of soreness through my forearms. We're actually going to practice the more traditional version of locust pose, which eventually turns into scorpion pose, but we're not going to do that today. So this one's a little funky and different. And some of us might not be able to get into this pose if we do not have the extension around the elbow joint. And again, I don't want you to try to force it, but this is a really beneficial pose if you've ever had tennis elbow or carpal tunnel, all those fun things. So chin is still forward. I guess I'm lifting up so I can talk. You're gonna flip your palms down to the ground. Palms down. Like, still keep your feet wide if you take care of your low back, but those of you that wanna do the more traditional legs and feet touching, you'll zip them up. So some of us might just be here with the palms down, and that's okay.
Otherwise, you're gonna roll a little bit to your right and slide the whole left arm underneath the body, palms down. Then you'll roll onto your left side and bring your right arm underneath the body. So both arms are now underneath the body, and if it's available, your pinky should be touching underneath you. So it might feel a little cramped, but this is gonna be a nice big stretch for those arms. And allow the weight of your hips to push your forearms further in towards the ground. So your palms should be touching the ground, arms are straight and getting a big stretch. Chin forward. Same thing, squeeze your right side and inhale just the right leg up. Exhale it down. Inhale, squeeze your left side, left leg lifts up. Exhale it down. Repeat side to side, or those of you that want, inhale, lift both legs up. So what eventually happens is we eventually try to lift the whole body up, and the legs go up in the air, and then the toes touch the crown of the head. So just imagine. You feel like 10 tons right now. How would I ever get my hips off of my arms? Yeah, I don't know. Keep breathing for 3, 2, 1. You're gonna roll one arm out, lean to the side, roll the other arm out, palms up, flap your heels open, relax the head to one side. If you get a little bit of tingling sensation, blood rushing, we're kind of cutting the blood flow off to the arms purposefully as like a natural tourniquet effect, just like we do in some other poses, and we get the benefit when we release the pose because that blood rushes back through the joints, around the joints and stuff. So that's where we get this nice healing effect from the pose. Head turns the other side for a breath. And then bring the chin forward, hands under the shoulders. Tuck your toes under. Pull that low belly in and press it back up. So we will come into our little baby cat-cows to stretch out our back from some of our back bending. If you want to sit back and do a child's pose to stretch out the back, you can do that. And then those of us are ready, we'll walk those hands back forward, toes tuck under, bellies in, and we'll lift up and back, downward facing dog. From here, feel free to sink one heel at a time to the ground to give the backs of those legs a nice big stretch. Keep rooting through the mound of the index finger and thumb. Roll those upper arm bones away from the ears. Press those thighs back. Feet should be parallel to each other. Create some space through the inner thigh to the inner heel. Contract a little bit up from the outer heel to the outer hip. And then on our inhale, we'll look forward and come into Uttanasana, walking feet to hands or hands to feet. Again, if you modify for your back, bend your knees, forearms or hands on your thighs. Everyone's feet and legs should be nice and strong, even if you're coming into the full forward fold. Even ragdoll, hands to elbows if you like. Sway a little bit through the shoulders, the head, and the neck. And we will do our halfway lifts to strengthen the upper back again. So on our inhale, hands to shins, really pull your shoulder blades together. Feel like you're trying to open your chest. Good. Exhale, pull. Inhale, squeeze the back, flatten it out, lift up, add those locust arms if you want more. Palms face each other, tighten up those triceps. Excellent. Exhale, fold. One more. Inhale, super strong feet, legs, core back. Inhale, lift it up. Exhale, sit back, Utkatasana. We'll let those arms float forward and up as we continue to pull our sit bones back and down. Make sure your knees are in line with those toes. Shrug those shoulders away from the ears. Or bring your hands into Anjali Mudra in front of the heart. Always an option. Going right into a little bit of balance. So super strong core. Try to pick that right foot up from the floor. There'll be a little bit of leaning, but try not to do too much. Exhale, sink it down. Inhale, left foot from the floor. Exhale, sink it down. Hold. Let's all bring our hands to heart center.
So we did this the other day, a little funky way moving into Vrikshasana or tree pose. So let's try to hover that right foot back up from the floor. At that hip, we're going to turn the thigh out and softly place the sole of the foot to the inner ankle or calf. I'm still in this lower sinking squat in my left leg. And then I'm going to press that left foot through the floor to start straightening the leg up, rising and growing up to my tree. Lift your heart up into the hands. Head should be relaxed. Squeeze those outer hips. Steady drishti, even if our tree blows around or falls down, we can bring it back up. Adding that chest expansion, wrap those arms behind the body. Try to interweave the fingers. If we don't have the fingers, grab opposite wrist or elbows. Open the chest, draw those knuckles down the back. Maybe try to float the chin and look up. Changing the drishti can really challenge our ego and our balance. And then on our next inhale, release your grip. Draw a nice wide circle as far out as you can, all the way up. Palms touch. Exhale, hands back to heart. We're going to point that knee back forward. Carefully place the foot back down and sink right back down to Utkatasana. Feel the power through the legs. Cover the left foot. At that hip socket, open the thigh out, soft foot to inner ankle or calf. Now press through the ground. Our standing leg gets really strong as we rise up into tree pose. Good. Continue to tighten up through those hips and glutes. Low belly, pelvic floor can be helping. Heart lifts into hands, head is floating. Adding our chest expansion. If you're interweaving those fingers, try to take the funky grip with the opposite pinky in front. Draw those shoulders and knuckles down to the ground. Maybe float the chin up and try to take your drishti up to the ceiling and breathe. Next inhale, release the grip, big circle out nice and wide. Stretch through those fingertips all the way up. Palms touch, exhale to center. Carefully point the knee forward. Safely plant the foot, and one more time, sink down into that Utkatasana. And then next inhale, we're going to straighten the legs up, add those arms, draw a big circle. And as we reach up this time, lift the heels up. Rise up on those tippy toes. And then exhale, bring it back down. So let's get into our shoulder chest stretch. So we're going to want to have our yoga strap, a belt, a scarf, something that's long enough that we can have a nice wide grip and that we can pull on so we have tension. So this is going to be for the neck and shoulders. And this can also be a nice way to kind of get back into that wrist action where it's more stability and strengthening for the wrist as you pull on that strap. Lower the half of the body should still stay nice and strong. Feet parallel. We want to make sure we're not jamming our knees backwards or overextending the spine. So you want to unlock the knees, front body to back body, lengthen the upper buttock down. So the whole lower half of the body is strong. Wide grip to start. Don't force one shoulder into these. If it wants to stop, that's when you stop. The inhale is just going to float it up, maybe slightly behind. And our exhale will bring us down. Find your rhythm. Try not to tense the face or the jaw or the neck. Keep pulling that front body to back body. I got my toes up to remind me to keep my legs strong and balanced. Some of us might be able to go a full circle all the way up, back, and down. Don't force it. The wider the grip, a little bit more mobility might be found. But if you want to try to tighten or shorten your grip, see how that affects your range of motion. You might get a bigger stretch, but you might not be able to go as far. So the next time that strap comes overhead, let's hold into our little favorite place here, whatever that looks like for you. Getting into this big stretch across the chest. One more big breath in. And then on the exhale, let's float it down.
Just set your strap down, shake out those wrists from our grip. And then we're gonna do our noodle arms. So super floppy arms. We'll start making a little momentum here, just kind of swinging it side to side. It's okay if your hips follow. Just have a little bend in your knees. Make sure we're not twerking our knees. And if we pick up some momentum here, those arms will really start flopping around and kind of smacking into you. So this is another nice way to release tension down the arms, forearms, and hands. And then we'll start to slow it down and just kind of let the body relax down. Let it go. Okay, so we'll do one more balancing pose today. I feel like just doing balancing poses today, as always. Let's do Garudasana. We were doing Garudasana last month, but because I'm thinking about wrists and arms and shoulders, this will be a nice big stretch for the back of the heart. So for Garudasana, we'll want to try to start with the insides of the feet and legs touching. On the inhale, we'll bring the arms up overhead. On the exhale, sweep your right arm under the left. Remember, hold on to the shoulders if that's where you're at today. Back to the hands touch, or wrap your palms and fingers together. And then in this variation, I want us to try to pull down and into our center, bringing those fingertips under the nose. Sit back down to that Utkatasana. First option is to stay here. Second option, simply place the right foot over to the left with the feet touching the ground, crossing at the shin bones. The fuller version, we hover the right leg up, cross as high as you can on the thigh. The foot is welcome to float out to the side, or eventually wrap that foot behind the calf or the ankle. And then you're squeezing and pulling down, stretching out the back of the heart, knotting up these hands and arms super tight. Knees a little bit to the right, elbows a little bit to the left, trying to find that plumb line. If our eagle flops out of the sky, just bring it back and hold and breathe for 3, 2, 1. Now on the inhale, we're just going to release the pose as gracefully as possible. Set the foot down, reach those arms up. And then exhale, float the arms back down to our traditional Tadasana, floating out beside the body. But we'll turn our palms forward, just to encourage more of this heart opening. And just observe. Heart might be racing. A little bit more energy flowing through the body from that powerful pose. Steady, even breath. Other side. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, swing that left arm under, shoulders, knuckles, or wrap the palms. Then squeeze. Legs and feet touching, sit down into Utkatasana. This might be our bus stop, or we'll go to the next stop and cross at the shins, or the next stop, float up and wrap, or maybe get into that full knot position. Now we're squeezing and pulling into our midline, stretching the back of the heart, the shoulder blades. Keep your drishti focused. Knees to the left, elbows to the right. Try to form that straight line. Squeeze and breathe for 3, 2, 1. Big breath in. Unwind all the way up. Exhale, arms float down to Tadasana. Palms forward. Keep your focus and concentration. Just observe. And one more time. Inhale, big circle. Reach, gaze upwards for a gentle back bend. Palms touch. Exhale to our center. So let's make another transition. As we moved around for our balancing poses, we'll come back to the top of our yoga mat. Feet parallel to each other. Arms extend back out beside the body. Float the head, stand nice and tall. The inhale draws those arms all the way back overhead. Again, gentle back bend if you want it. Drishti the thumbs. Exhale, bend the knees, hinge from those hips, back down to our forward fold, whatever that looks like today. Prance those legs, release the neck and shoulders. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant those hands, big step back, 1 foot at a time into plank pose. So now more strengthening for the upper half of the body, around the shoulders, the front and back of the heart. Squeeze those hips, nice strong legs. You're welcome to be in kneeling plank. We are going to revisit side plank, Vasisthasana. We may come back to our original one that we did at the very beginning of class, where we drop the left knee down, kickstand the foot out, and then open the right side of the body up. If you want to take the more traditional version, bring the insides of the feet to touch. Tip your heels to the left, legs are stacked. Right arm reaches up. Pull your left side up. Keep the head in line with the spine. Whatever variation, we're going to breathe and hold for 3, 2, 1. Look down, exhale, bring yourself back down. So you can come back to tabletop or plank. Insides of the feet and legs are touching. Tip the heels to the right, stack the hips, the shoulders. Pull that right side up from the ground. Keep that neck long. Hold and breathe. 3, 2, 1. Look down, unwind back down, plank or tabletop. 1 more breath. And then inhale, let's float those hips up. And exhale, sink down through the heels, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Inhale, heels up as high as we can go. Stretch up those toes and those feet. Exhale, drop the knees to the ground. Point the toes. Sitting back to Balasana again. Trying to drop the head to the ground or a prop or your arms. Flop the arms down beside the body, hands to feet. Take a breath. Hands under the shoulders, tuck the chin, and we're going to rise on up. So we are going to practice our camel pose, Ustrasana. We've also been practicing this powerful heart opening in this class. For this pose, you might want to fold, double, or triple up your yoga mat so you have cushion for your knees, or use blankets or towels. And then when we come into a kneeling position, we'll want to make sure we have about 2 fist distance between our knees, so you can measure that. Now the tops of the feet are going to be flat or the toes are tucked. In this version that we've been practicing, there's no hands to heels. The whole intention is just about toning, strengthening up through the back, pushing our hips forward, and learning to elevate and lift up through the heart. So if it's available in those wrists, you'll bring the palms to that lower back, pinkies touching, elbows pull back. If that's not an option, make fists and press your knuckles into your low back. If that still doesn't work, you can take your thumbs around and support your hips. There's no leaning back. We're against an invisible wall. I'm tightening the buttock and I'm pushing my hips and thighs into that invisible wall. And then from there, I'm going to create space up my spine. So I'm trying to stretch my spine up, opening through the front body here, pulling my shoulder blades back, my elbows back, and then my shoulder blades will also eventually lift my heart up. The chin can float up. Don't just drop the weight of the head back. We must keep that neck long in the back. Push your hips forward, squeeze the back, lift the heart. Little sips of air in and out through the nose. Keep squeezing, pushing hips forward, heart up for 3, 2, 1. Point the toes, or you can keep them tucked if you want to go back to broken toe pose. Keep your hands on your back, sit back. Fingertips towards the knees, little baby cat-cow. So little inhale to a gentle back bend, little exhale to tuck and round. We are doing 1 more set today, but if you feel like you need to move forward into a child's pose, you can. So second set, we'll come back to kneeling, 2 fist distance between those knees, toes pointed or flexed, palms, fists, or hands to hips. Now pull those elbows back, squeeze your back side, push your hips forward into that wall.
Stay connected, and then lift up, chest up, heart up. Chin can move up. Back of the neck stays long. Roll your eyes up, even to your third eye center. Keep breathing. Use your shoulder blades to lift the heart up even more. Keep tightening the back, stretching the front. Little sips of air for 3, 2, 1. We'll sit it back down. You can float the head up. Sit back down. Hands towards those knees, little baby cat-cows. Or carefully walk yourself forward and maybe resting on the forearms. Give that back a little bit more of a stretch. And then we'll bring it on up. We'll shift our weight over to either hip and bring our feet forward. So, a couple more powerful poses, then we'll bring it down, do some supine stretching. So we'll do our reverse tabletop or reverse plank. Now this is gonna put pressure on those wrists, but it's gonna be a big stretch for them as well. So if it's too much for the wrist today, feel free to maybe do a boat pose or another option like that. So for reverse tabletop, we'll wanna bring our feet parallel to each other. The heels of your hands line up with the outside of your hips. Start with your fingertips pointing to the back of your mat. Glue the middle finger down, float the palms up, and spin around, dropping the palms back down. So now we are leaning back, the elbows are squeezing towards one another. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Walk the feet in a little bit more closely, squeeze your back side again, and lift those hips up. So strengthening through the upper back. Head should be floating in line with the spine. Squeeze the back to lift those hips. Good. Big breath in. Exhale, let's lower it down. We're gonna flip our hands over to the knuckles and just gently drag them forward to counter that big compression. Praying mantis again. Pinch fingers to thumb. Inhale, pull them in and up. Exhale, gently shake them up. So second round, repeat the first round. If you want to try Purvottanasana, stretch to the east pose or reverse plank, you may. You need to be very careful of knees and this one. So tiny micro bend in the knees. Heels of the hands to the outer hips. Plant the middle finger, spin around on top of it. Drop the palms. So now the fingers are forward. Don't flay your elbows out. They're coming back behind you. So we're toning and strengthening the upper back. For reverse plank, we straighten the legs out, but you should still have a tiny micro bend in those knees. You're gonna squeeze the back, lift it up, and you're trying to get your toes to touch the ground. Keep the head in line with the spine, or step your feet back in into reverse tabletop. Breathe. Good choices, everybody. Big breath in, and exhale, lower it down. Same thing, flip over to your knuckles, gently drag them forward. Pinch those fingers to the thumbs, inhale, pull them up. Exhale, gently shake them out. Let's do that one more time. Sweep your hands behind you, you're dragging on the knuckles. Pinch the fingers to the thumb, big pull up. And then exhale, shake it out. Okay, so moving on to our back. Safer way to come onto one side and walk yourself down. Or plant those feet, open the knees wide, draw the belly in, reach those fingertips forward, and try to do our slow roll down. Strong core, core, core. Rolling through the sacrum, the lumbar, the thoracic, the shoulders, the head. Everyone's arms reach overhead. Straighten and stretch the legs out down the middle of the yoga mat. Hook your thumbs together and then try to pull your arm bones back out. So with your arms overhead, you're hooking your thumbs like making a butterfly with your hands and pretending like you're trying to pull them apart. And we should feel a nice stretch again around the shoulders. Switch the cross of your thumbs. Flex those feet, spread the toes as you do this butterfly pose, big breath in. And then exhale, release that grip. Sweep the arms down beside the body. And let's walk our feet in. Knees are bent up towards the ceiling. Shoulder blades tucked under. Draw the right knee in and extend the right leg straight up to the ceiling. Now we want that right foot actively flexed. We'll externally rotate the right thigh bone so the heel should turn in, the toes will turn out. Cross the right ankle on top of the left thigh for supine pigeon pose. So you're encouraging the right thigh away from you. We might take our hand to the inner thigh, just gently encourage it away. If we want a little bit more, we'll pull our left leg in towards us, wrapping the hands behind the left thigh, maybe extending the left foot up to the ceiling. And taking it even a little step further, hands to shin bone, drawing left knee to left shoulder, and still encouraging the right thigh out. So we should feel this in the outer right hip. Supta Kapotanasana, reclining pigeon pose. So we're going to take one more breath here. And then we're going to move into a little bit of a funky twist. So release your grip. Keep your legs just how they are, but drop the left foot back down to the floor. So your right knee is still bent out, your right ankle is still crossed on top of that left thigh. From here, keep your legs in the same position, but just tip your legs over to the left. The sole of your right foot should come down to the ground. Now the knee can still be upwards towards the ceiling. Your right hip came up a little bit, that's okay. You can try to take your left hand and reach down for your right ankle. Take the right hand and try to reach down for the left toes. And then the head turns to the right. That's a little bit much on the knees. Uncross the legs and just come into a regular spinal twist with the knees to the left. One more breath here. Bring the head to neutral. Let go of the foot and the ankle if you have it. We're going to try to float the legs back up right where we started. So you still have your right ankle crossed over your left thigh. Carefully stretch your right leg straight up to the ceiling. Press the heel up. Open the knee up. Make sure you're back into alignment here. Exhale, bring the right foot to the ground. Little windshield wipers. So other side, shoulders down, low back rounded, pull the left knee in, straighten the left leg up to the ceiling. Foot is actively flexed. Externally rotate, heel in, toes out. Cross the left ankle on top of the right thigh. You can do a little rock here. Left hand can come to inner thigh to encourage that thigh bone away from the body. Step further, pull the right leg in, hands behind the right thigh. Right leg reaches up. And a step further, hands to right shin bone, drawing the right knee towards the right shoulder, still encouraging that left thigh out. Your left foot should still be actively flexed. Feeling this in that outer left hip. So pigeons are always great if we experience sciatica or we sit for long periods of time, have that tightness in our hips. One more breath. So funky twist, we'll slide our hands out, drop the right foot to the floor, back where we started. Keep your legs in this exact position, just tip them over to the right. The sole of the left foot should come to the ground. Now we'll try to reach down with our right hand and take a hold of that ankle. Left hand's gonna reach down and try to find those right toes down there somewhere. If we don't have the grip today, don't worry about it. Your shoulders should be sinking down. The head may turn to the left. So some of us might continue to feel this through that outer hip, little back bending, a little bit of a twist going on. One more breath.
We'll release the grips. Head looks up. Carefully float both legs back up where we started. Stretch the left leg straight back up. Open up the eye of the knee. Bring it back to alignment. Exhale, bring the foot down. Rock it out. So if there's any last little movement you feel like the body needs today, feel free to do that. Maybe just hugging the knees in or lifting up one more time to bridge pose, a happy baby. And if you're ready to move into final relaxation, start gathering up your goodies. So pillows, bolsters under the legs, support the head, the back. Use your eye coverings. If you're still moving around a little bit, I'll give us a couple more moments to do our last little movement we might need. And once we got ourselves balanced out, we start to reorganize ourselves for our final relaxation. Remember to put some effort into this pose. We want to find as much symmetry in the body as we can, side to side, front to back. We want to try to find the very back center of our skull, adjust the shoulders accordingly. Maybe bringing the legs closer together or farther apart. We want the arms to be just slightly away from the torso so the body can breathe into those outer ribs as well. Palms are up and the fingertips are relaxed. Poof those cheeks, wiggle out the mouth, tongue, and jaw. Relax all those little muscles across the face. Unfurl the brow. Let the eyeballs sink into the sockets. Let the limbs grow heavy as the arms flop into the ground. Relax the hands, the centers of the palms. Feel the weight of the legs sinking into the ground. Relaxing the feet, the soles of the feet. Relax all the way around the torso, the back of the heart, the low back. Soften the heart, the chest. Relax the abdomen completely. The breath is easy, quiet, and soft. If the mind wanders, we can bring it back to our peaceful breath. Or we can rest our mind's eye at our heart center today, Anahata Chakra, our place of gratitude and unconditional love. Giving ourselves just one more moment this morning to let go, to feel a sense of surrender, and to sink into Shavasana.
So we'll slowly start to come back to the breath. Breathing life back into the body. Waking up toes and fingertips. A rock of the head side to side, a roll of those wrists and ankles. Our next inhale re-extends those arms up to the ceiling and all the way overhead, back into our long body stretch, creating a lot of space here, right to left and front to back. Big breath in, spread those fingers and toes. On the exhale, we'll float the arms down, walk our feet in, and use our core to hug our knees in, massaging the back side to side. And then right arm beside the head, rolling and pausing on our right side. And Supta Balasana, sleeping baby pose. Maybe setting a positive intention or mantra to take with us into our day today. And then keeping those eyes soft or closed, press into the ground. We'll bring the body back up, revisiting any comfortable seated posture and taking just a couple more breaths together today. So sit up tall through the crown, find those sit bones, being mindful of our surroundings, reach the arms up beside the body. Turning the palms up, big breath in, let's reach those arms all the way up to the ceiling and gather up everything we need for the rest of our day. Palms turn out, big exhale out, floating the arms all the way back down to the ground and letting go of all that other junk we do not need today. And one more time, inhale, arms up. Palms touch, exhale, hands to heart. Humbly bow the head to the heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and anyone else that made it possible for us to practice our yoga together today. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. And I thank you all so much for spending part of your Sunday morning here together with all of us. Okay, I'm ready. Ready to start the day. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Questions or comments, feel free to ask.